Internet. Welcome to the Making Geeks podcast. This is the podcast for makers, dads, and geeks, and this is episode 115. We have another great show for you this week, and we have all four of us here, starting with Mr. Josh Price, Mr. Mark O'Keefe, Mr. Wes Swain, and I am Sean Jolliker. So, guys, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Pretty good.
The week
Jinx.
has gone by slow, but it feels fast now.
Yeah. This whole year's been gone by fast.
Mm-hmm. Holy
Ridiculous.
crap, there's only like 3 months left in the year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas,
It's
guys.
cold outside.
According to Costco, yeah, it's Merry Christmas.
Ugh.
So you guys been up to anything special this week?
Work.
Just work.
Work. It's funny. I've been there almost a month now, and they're still trying to get my stuff working. They can't figure out how some of my access to some of the software isn't working right, and IT people are a lovely group of okay, reset the password. That why? That wasn't the problem.
Are
I
you
worked
there?
for a company for about 3 weeks one time and didn't know how much I was getting paid.
Good.
That sounds about right too.
You
They wrote it
should
on a
get to
Post-it
set your own
note.
rate.
Well, I just got back from Maker Faire, World Maker Faire in New York. Sorry, dude.
So close, yet so far.
When was that? That was Friday and Saturday? Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, I think you left right after we finished recording last week.
Mm-hmm. You left the next morning.
Great. Yep, we
How
left
was
on
it?
Friday. It was fun. The like comparison people make about like, oh, New York is so much different than Bay Area. Like, yeah, I think they're pretty comparable. They
Size-wise?
have I think people said that New York was bigger than it usually was.
Hmm.
So Bay Area was bigger, but people were saying like, oh, it's like double the size, and I wouldn't go that far. But it was pretty good.
Is it just
I
more
mean,
spread out
New
at
York
Bay Area?
New York has the entire Hall of Science pitch in, so you have
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's
That
enter
full
at the
park.
Hall of Science. They have the big grassy field next to it. Parking lot. It doesn't have as many like massive mechatronic like fire breathing things, but there are some.
you get to play with a giant steampunk Hellboy-ish gauntlet card
Dude.
crusher thing.
That thing was awesome. It's called the Hand of Man, and it's a 30-foot tall hydraulic car crushing robot arm that you sit in this little chair and you put your hand inside of like Tony Stark's like Mark I like gauntlet, and each one of your fingers controls one of the fingers on the massive crane thing, and you have like I think it's like up to 90-degree wrist articulation. You can raise, lower, move side to side. It was pretty crazy. So because Bob is one of the, he's on the advisory board, they had certain slots for certain people. Oh, excuse me. But mostly it's like little kids. They like little girls with pigtails riding a little thing and like smash cars with his hand. And at the very end of the day on Sunday when it was raining and getting kind of gross, Jess, one of the organizers, was like, "Oh, you guys should come and play with the car smashing thing," because we were about to leave. Like we were well beyond tired and ready to go, and then she mentioned that. We're like, "Oh, I guess we can hang around for a little while longer."
I am never too tired to crush a car with a giant robot hand.
That's pretty sweet. I made it do a big thumbs up. It was pretty cool.
Please tell me there's video of that.
Yeah, there is.
Nice.
So is New York Maker Faire generally less hippie-ish than Bay Area?
It was less hippie-ish, yeah. There were less people. There was less meandering silliness. And more like, if you have something silly, put it in a booth so that people can go look at it, rather than just like anybody could just walk in and be part of the like whimsy. Like it was more organized whimsy.
Like there wasn't two news anchors and a drivable desk.
No.
Or motorized cupcakes running all over the place.
Yes,
there were no
cupcakes.
Those are there. Those are
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
They're
they were
always
there.
there.
Okay.
No, the cupcakes weren't there.
Oh,
They
were.
had the cars, like the racing league was there with like the Power Wheel cars.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that are like staples. They've got the Coke and Mentos show, which like is gross. And then there's kids that are like in the splash zone, like get like rained on by Coke, and then carrying around like half full 2-liter bottles of Diet Coke.
And
Just
if
so
they're
happy.
sticky,
At least it's,
sticky, they're
it's not
sticky.
sticky.
Nasty.
Diet Coke. It's
doesn't
not sticky.
Still gross. Super gross. But the content creator stage was the same size as it was when we were at a Bay Area. They had, I don't know, a bunch of food trucks. Like, it was good. We posted a video today of like a kind of question and answer and kind of a Maker Faire tour, because that was my question. I was like, what's going to be different about this Maker Faire video than the last Maker Faire video? You're going to see 3D printers and CNCs and people riding around on silly things. So we combined it with a Q&A video. But got to see the new SL1, Prusa's new resin printer.
How does it look?
Oh yeah, I was curious.
It's smaller than the Form 1, but they put out some pretty awesome prints. I got a box of the new Prusa, as they call it, Prusa Mint, the new Prusa filament.
The filament, yeah.
They had a bunch of sample packs, so they gave me a sample pack to one day, and then we saw Joe hanging out, and so Bob and I were talking to Joe, and then he walked back and he gave us each a box of the actual filament. So I've tried the sample packs, and I have not been able to get a successful print with this, and it's just like bare filament. It's not on a spool at all, but I have not been able to get a successful print with just the loose filament. So I got to try the spool. But the stuff they had there looked pretty awesome. I mean, stuff that Filamentum like would charge $40 for because it's got flakes and it's very luminescent and all that, and it's supposed to be, I think, $25 a spool. And
They have
I
U.S.
think
shipping, or is like from the
Oh,
UK? Oh yeah,
no, it's from they're shipping
or
it from
not UK,
Czech
but
Republic.
that's what I meant. Europe.
Yeah, because
Where-
they're making it in house. They've got 5 lines that are making filament. So whereas when I was talking to Maker Geeks, when all their stuff was backed up, they said that they were trying to open a third to try to meet demand, and Prusa's starting out with 5, and then they wanted to open twice as many. But
Nice.
yeah, they're about to start selling on Amazon too, which is kind of bonkers.
Okay, that's
They need a factory in the U.S. though.
Well, according
'Cause
to them, they
they're-
can meet all that demand.
yeah. There's last time I went to shop for film on their site, like any savings was completely negated by the shipping cost.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
And that,
For me.
and that's why I said they need a U.S. factory because of the shipping issue.
Well, Matter Hackers just opened up an East Coast warehouse in Pennsylvania to try to like get their 2-day shipping down. So maybe Joe needs to do the same thing. But yeah, I think it's October sometime they're going to be offering it on Amazon. But I'll
Very
boast
cool.
more about it once I get a successful print from it.
I'm having a hard time finding colors, or just of any brand filament that I've used that reliably. I need red. Can't find
Matter
it.
Hackers has a super vibrant red.
Well, last time I looked 2 days ago, they were out. At least the basic one. I don't know if it's like the premium PLA or something. I don't know, but they were out of red.
Yeah, they sent us a big pack. It was a couple months ago with their like Matter Hackers Pro PLA or whatever
Right.
that they saw, because that's what we used. I had some translucent stuff, and so for the Soundwave boombox, I needed to make a little record light.
Mhm.
So I printed that in translucent, but it looked all melty and kind of gummy bear looking. And then I found that red spool, and the button that's actually in there is just super vibrant red. But I think Prusa has like a lipstick red that's available on their website, because they only have certain colors available right now. But in the booth they had, at the flyer thing that I got, maybe had like 10 or 12 different colors.
Yeah,
I think on the website they only have 4 or 5 available right now.
that's holding me up on my Mario Cappy project because I want to print it in the color. I don't want to have to paint it. Just as part of the aesthetic, and I'm kind of waiting on filament to come in stock, either Hatchbox or Matter Hackers or whatever. And I don't want to
Send me
buy.
tomorrow and I can print it, and you can just pick it up when you're here.
That's true. I actually thought about bringing some mini projects out there while I'm out there just to knock some stuff out.
Sure.
But I've been doing some stuff this week, 3D printing related. If we're talking about what we're all doing this week, I'm in a Facebook group that's of Virtual Boy enthusiasts. Yes, there are some. And Virtual Boys are pretty cool, but they have a couple problems that kind of come about over time. One of them is electronics related issue, which is a completely different subject. But there's another part that is a piece of plastic that's on the legs that hold the Virtual Boy up. It's kind of like the hub where the legs go in to hold them out in an out position so the thing doesn't fall over on the table. Well, that plastic gets stressed over time and it ends up cracking. And so you see pictures of people duct taping their stands up, just to be able to hold it up or whatever. And one guy posted on the group saying he found a model for one, but he doesn't have a printer, and if anybody had a printer, they'd pay for it. And he was out of Canada, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I've got a printer. It doesn't cost me much. I'll be happy to print it for you and mail it to you." Well, I didn't realize at the time that he was in Canada, so that cost a little bit more for shipping than I anticipated, but it's $10, not too bad. Dope. So I sent it to him, and come to find out, he runs a I don't even know what you call it, like a retro gaming toy store in Canada, in Ottawa. And I've been to a lot of those kinds of places, both gaming and retro toys. At least on the video tour that I saw, I think I tagged all you guys in. I don't know if you saw it, but it outdid any of the ones I've ever seen. He had sections of any kind of classic toys and video game systems, and even super obscure stuff. You're never gonna find a boxed Magnavox Odyssey game console or something like that.
Wow.
And they're here you go. Here's 3 of them. What?
I've never even heard of that.
So that was pretty cool. And so I posted, and it was kind of neat to be able to print something useful and only cost me a couple cents in material. And I wondered if there was other people that needed that piece, because it's a pretty common part to break. I have a set here that has a broken one, and I just posted on the group hey, if anybody needs this piece, let me know. I'll send it to you. If I get too many, I'll have to limit it, maybe do more in the next couple months, but I'm just gauging interest. Let me know. I had 10 people yeah, dude, that's amazing. How much do I owe you? And I'm don't worry about it. They kind of they were not really trusting this random person on the internet posting that they're going to get something legitimately for free with no strings attached. So I'm send me your address. I don't know if I want to send you my address. No, seriously, dude, I got you. And I had to link them, sort of like internet street cred of here's my videos that I made. I'm in this maker group with 3D print stuff. Here's my Instagram, blah blah. So after I kind of vetted myself, I printed some for him, and this one guy wanted 3 because he has a collection of Virtual Boys, and he actually ended up paying me for them. He actually was very adamant about doing that, and so him paying for 3 of them, totally out, it was $25 is what I charged, which seems somewhat reasonable for the time and everything, and shipping it included. And his amount he paid will more than pay for the next 50 or more of these little plastic pieces, 100 of them, even that. So it was kind of cool. And I ended up, it all started from me getting some Virtual Boy parts years ago. I got a case that they used to come, if you ever went to Blockbuster back in the day and you wanted to check out the Virtual Boy that just came out, there was a Blockbuster hard shell case that was never sold, but they would rent you the system. And I actually got one of those from a random person on Reddit, of all places, that was giving it away if someone could fix the Virtual Boy, if it went to a good home, essentially. And I'm yeah, I was lucky enough to jump on that. I just paid for shipping, and I received, it was a couple years ago, a hard shell case, a Virtual Boy case. All the foam is in there. It's kind of all cut out just for the perfect pieces to fit in there. And it's sort of a full circle thing. So they paid it forward from there, and I just kind of kept it going. It took me a couple years to realize where I kind of fit into that idea, but it's kind of neat. Sort of revitalizing old hardware through 3D printing, philanthropic retro printing. So maybe that's another avenue I might kind of delve down a little bit. A little niche kind of thing. Bringing old hardware to life.
I think that's a pretty cool endeavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Enable, but not as serious. Like you're not
Yeah,
printing
really.
hands for kids that need them. You're printing
It's like
parts
a
for
Game
crappy
Medic.
game systems. Yeah, exactly. So
This week I've been working on making a 2-part plaster Paris mold that is going to do. I'm starting kind of with like pop figure heads because they're small, but my wife wants to turn them into like little planters, like little what do you call them? The
Succulent planters?
Succulents, yeah, little succulent planters. And the first half of my mold went pretty well. The second half, I was in a rush, didn't have enough light, I couldn't see, and it completely got messed up. So I'm gonna have to probably recast that second half, and I think it'll come out. I haven't made a plaster Paris mold in probably 20 years. It's something I learned how to do for part of my curriculum when I was going through a bunch of the animation classes, and it's really fun. I don't see a whole lot of people use plaster Paris because it is a pain to work with, but it is cheap and it works. But it's a little bit less forgiving than silicone, like the silicone molds, because that would have been the easier way to go, but also more expensive. So I'm trying to document the process a little bit, and I'm planning on turning it into a video. But I've been having fun with that, just doing something a little bit different, since I'm in front of the computer a lot more now than I ever planned to be, since everything that I'm teaching has to do with being in front of the computer. So that's what I've been up to.
I haven't been up to anything. I'm living vicariously through you guys right now.
that works. We all go through that point.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
So today looks like we're going to be doing a series of tiny topics. I guess we're all supposed to come up with a little something to talk about, but I think I'm just might end up piggybacking on everybody else until I think of something.
That's what I was gonna do.
Tiny topics on the podcast.
We need like little
Alright.
stingers we can play with little push buttons like wah, 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 like sounds, and
Oh yeah.
we need to try that.
The zany New
Yeah.
York morning shows.
Exactly.
So Josh, are you going to go first? Looks like you have something already to go.
So, a couple episodes ago, we were talking about like copyright infringement,
Yes.
and what is yours? And I made the argument that I didn't really make the argument. It's improper context. I talked about river tables, and how river tables are a thing, and how does one person, say Greg Klassen, very famous artist who does really ornate glass-topped river tables, like, does he have a copyright on that style, or can you copyright a style? That whole thing we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently today, there's a guy on Instagram, a couple people actually, one called Blacktail Studio. You guys know about that? Does a bunch of epoxy pour tables. And BJ Mac Woodwork. Do you know that one? Both those
No.
guys do a lot of really massive, like really expensive live edge, like river tables with epoxy pours and things like that. So BJ Mac is in Canada and sells a bunch of the eco-epoxies like a retailer, and has huge like pieces of walnut. Really beautiful work that both of them do. But Blacktail Studio just put out, they were trying to start a dialogue, but they said that myself, and I'll just read from the Instagram post. It says, myself and many others were served legal notice by Greg Klassen because he has successfully trademarked the word river in relation to any table, furniture, mirror, art, picture frame, or any other item.
Wow.
Yeah. So just that point alone. How do you guys feel about this?
I don't like it. I think it's too broad a term.
I don't.
Well, it's in that specific. It's for those categories.
Right.
So it's not
So
like
I can't make a river
he can't
chair.
sue like nature.
That's fine. I'll call it a stream table, or a puddle
Look,
table, or a lake table.
Look, I've got my creek table.
Though
Yeah.
both of those were arguments that people were making, or the points that people were making in the comments. What about you, Wes? I'm curious to hear what you think.
Well, I mean, you can. You can trademark phrases like that as long as they're somewhat specific. I mean, there's definitely, cases of that, like band and aid. Other pairings of words that, if you use them in any other context, they wouldn't be enforceable. But that's a lot of mail they're gonna have to send out.
Right?
Like
So
a lot.
I was looking into trademark versus copyright after we had talked about that.
Yeah.
And I remember this one episode of Shark Tank came up where this one guy was selling these like leather cuffs with these like stones and stuff in them. But he called them rock bands. And or they were like, you might not be able to call them that. He was like, no, I have a trademark on Rock Band for apparel.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, whoa! So they just wanted to buy the rights so that the game Rock Band could not make Rock Band shirts because it would be in violation of that guy's trademark because that guy trademarked that term for apparel. And so I mentioned this to Bob. Bob says that, he owns the trademark to I Like to Make Stuff for apparel and for digital content. So if someone has the name or has the slogan or puts it on a piece of clothing or whatever, they are infringing on his trademark. Therefore, he can have legal recourse. So now Greg Klassen has trademarked the term river when dealing with, furniture and things like that. So if calling something a river, whatever, he can legally now, because he owns a trademark, put cease and desist letters and prevent people from doing so.
So I legally can't make a river couch.
You can't
So-
brand it as a river couch.
I
See,
think there's
and
still a
that's-
difference between making it for yourself and then selling it, though.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it kind of comes down to. It almost, I mean, not that this would have happened, but it couldn't come at a more opportune time when everybody is making river tables, everybody is trying to sell them and jump on this bandwagon, and this guy's just sitting back, kind of going, just seeing the dollar signs roll up as
Excellent,
everybody, where everybody's going to be a potential lawsuit now. Yeah.
Well, my point was, going back to our episode, like his original art is copyrighted as an artistic property. And because so many people are copying that style, which again, you can't copyright the style, but a lot of them, like John Malecki put out a video on his channel with a huge walnut slab, and he put a blue piece of glass inside a routed out pocket, looked exactly like it. So by attacking the trademark, can't call it a river table, but that doesn't prevent somebody from making and selling that product. So would it have been more beneficial, or is there an actual standing for him to copyright infringement? And now he can, because I don't know what legal standing there is to do so, but now he has legal standing going after people just to call it that for branding purposes. But that still, I think, doesn't prevent people from attacking that market. You just have to make a clever name, like you guys are talking about. Like,
Right, but if you think about the impact that calling it a river table has had,
true.
and now you're calling it something
It's
different.
a searchable term. Yeah, how else you get?
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to sound weird to people's ears.
Well, couldn't I go and make my H2O table, but put in searchable terms, river table?
You
Or
can
just call
attach
it-
tags, but
Yeah.
I think Sean, you're exactly right. When people look for a river table, people talk about river tables. Now that specifically will go to Greg Klassen, and if it does go to someone else, then he can use that search information pretty much to hone in on competitors and use SEO against them. So if you do try to put that as a tag, and if you go, I'm selling this river table for $1,000, and he can search river table, they go, no, you're not selling that river table, you're selling your estuary platform.
Or what if you call it? What if you call it not a river table?
Just can't put those two words together next to a table, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I was
I thought that was
by,
I thought,
by my table that I was found and walking by the river.
no, I just thought it was neat that we
just touched
specifically
on that,
talked
yeah.
about, yeah, that particular case.
That is cool.
It came to pass.
I wonder in this space if we're going to start seeing other things like that happen. I mean, like what other potentially trademark things have you seen that is somebody like something of somebody's own invention that every kind of piggybacks on that you could eventually see them trying to grab hold of ownership of?
Maker Knife.
The I Like to Make Stuff Facebook group,
That as well.
which that was a good little tie-in to someone else's little mini topic that has a bone right in the middle. But yes, the I Like to Make Stuff Facebook group, and how contentious that was, and how it factioned off and split up with a bunch of people freaking out. Bob had legal standing to go after him and to get him to change the name, but he didn't. When he probably at a certain point absolutely should have, because he has a trademark on that term in all media outlets.
Isn't that group almost dead anyways now? I don't think I'm... Yeah, whatever.
Honestly,
But
I don't care.
I know.
We called it. On that show, that was 5 seconds into that whole batch of garbage, we're like, this whole thing is done.
Yep.
Time for everybody to leave. I'm sure there's still a bunch of angry, grumpy people in that group complaining about everybody else.
And now there's like 4 other splinter groups that have formed.
Can we call it right now that Facebook itself is done?
No.
Since we are apparently the oracles that set the media trends for the rest of the community. No more.
I don't know.
As long as our parents are still using it.
And that's why. That's part of the problem.
You want to know exactly why Facebook isn't done? Because people still have AOL.
And because they own Instagram.
Yeah. If AOL can still exist in 2018, Facebook's never going to die.
I don't know if AOL really exists.
No, it does. People still have username at AOL.com.
I could have sworn they just shut it down recently, and it's being migrated.
I'm sure
I still
their
have
dial-up
Yahoo
servers still
email
work.
address. They're the coolest person in the chat room.
Do you still have
I
any of
should've just
those
heard news
CDs around?
Oh, God. They're all in the bottom of the landfill, and they make up an entire layer of the Earth's crust. So many of those things were made.
Is this granite? Marble? No, it's CD.
It's polycarbonate with some weird silver crap on it.
Well, this is also related to a topic we recently brought up. But in the news as of yesterday, a Lion King puppet maker was charged with 3D printing a gun at the Broadway Theater. Thoughts?
Nice.
No, stop.
This show is not titled Mini Topics. It's going to talk about we predicted the future in all of these ways.
Okay, so hold off on the Lion King theme for 2 seconds.
What?
Well, no, it's directly related though.
Okay, good.
So the first guy that ever printed a 3D gun, a 3D printed gun, was just arrested for having a underage intercourse with a girl in Texas. He fled the country. He was in Taiwan. They caught him, turned him over to the U.S., and had him shipped back. So then now, 3D printed gun is now in the news again, and this is the context, I guess.
Yep.
Is anyone else getting just disappointed in our species
Well,
lately?
more so, was the 3D printed gun, was he going to poach with the gun? Was it a prop? Was it an
Yeah,
actual
Rafiki
gun?
was going to use it along with his staff.
It's a modern retelling where Scar shoots Mufasa.
That's right.
Was
That's
it-
right. Blah, blah,
They're
blah.
right in the middle of them holding up the new prints, and then just some English guy with really high socks and a
Yeah.
safari hat just shoots him.
It shoots rounds called wildebeest.
Thank you there, baboon. Raising up that cub. Right in the crosshairs.
Okay, so hey, you guys have all seen pictures of the 3D printed gun before, right?
Yeah.
How long would it take for that damn thing to print? So for a week, everybody's kind of walking by. Oh, I wonder what that's printing. At the end, oh, it's a gun.
I don't think it would take that
Well,
long.
I mean, I guess
'cause
I imagine he was
I
using
know.
the prop shop's printer. So
He
if
was,
it's in
yeah.
New York, it's probably a higher end printer. So maybe he printed it, overnight.
It says
we
in-
probably
Late
could
nights,
do it
get some
overnight.
weapon.
It says that the New York Daily News reported that his printer was discovered when security officials were helping him clear out his possessions because he was about to lose his job. Officials spotted the 3D printer and the gun in the making. The theater staff then called police, who arrived and found the printer powered on, moving and in operation, making a contraption that was shaped like a revolver, quote unquote.
Oh, he was about to get fired?
He was about to get fired for something else, I
He
guess.
was
Yeah.
about to poke some people with that gun.
One shot.
a
Hold
person.
on.
What
And
what
he said he
didn't-
found the
didn't we say
plans
that last
online,
time?
downloaded them for his brother. He was making it for his brother, he says, who lives upstate and has a firearms license. His brother does. And he reportedly told the police that the 3D printer belonged to him, but he brought it into the theater because his workshop was, quote unquote, too dusty. That he was charged with attempted criminal possession of a firearm.
Didn't we call that last time too? That the only reason to make one of those guns is for nefarious, is for the
The one time
experience
pop
of
shot.
hey, I 3D
Yeah.
printed a gun, the novelty of printing a gun, or something nefarious.
Yep.
No, there's a stage manager somewhere that told that guy he was on his last leg. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna end this show with a bang, and then got caught.
Wasn't
Hopefully
the
he
Ford-
doesn't miss, because he could only be shot once.
Should have
Maybe
been in the
like
Ford
Birdman.
theater. Yeah,
Did you guys
yeah.
see Birdman?
Yeah, good movie.
I still gotta
Michael
watch
Keaton?
that. I still have
Maybe
to watch
he was
it.
gonna
I
have like a
haven't.
Birdman moment.
Like was it? I
Run
won't
out
say
on
anything.
stage at the
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good movie.
It's definitely worth watching.
I'll check it out.
We could watch it together.
There you go. You got it? Let's
No.
do it.
I'll
All right.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I have the internet.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And Michael Keaton lives next door. He'll just reenact the whole thing.
Nice. Here's a topic. eBay. What are some of the stuff you guys have you guys ever bought anything crazy on eBay, either expense wise or anything weird or anything or sold anything weird, had any sort of eBay
Swords.
stories? Swords?
Yeah, I used to buy swords when I was in my 20s. That are still in my basement, and now I gotta get rid of them. Because
Can
there's
you
no
just,
point in
like,
having
buy
them.
Okay, we talk about 3D printed guns and stuff all day long, but you can apparently just buy a sword on eBay. Like, how is that not a topic of discussion?
You can go to the mall and buy a sword. East Meets West has a ton of Pakistani katanas. Swords are like you can just go, and they're illegal in New Jersey, which I find hilarious. The rule is they're illegal. I forget which one it is. It's either they're illegal to own but not illegal to buy, or the other way around.
How does that work?
I don't know.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Some moron somewhere did something dumb, and now we have this. But
They want
that's,
they want the tax money, but they don't want people to keep them in their possession.
I don't know.
So are you
can
just
get
like
a
a-
sword you can get a sword at any flea market too. There's always
You're just like
katana
a
and crazy knife guy.
Proxy? You purchase the sword, but you don't own it, so you're like, this is not my money. This is someone in Connecticut's money.
I'm buying it for someone else.
Just hanging on to them
Yeah.
and handing you the money and getting a receipt
It's-
for it, but I don't own it.
It's along those like weird blue laws. You can't buy a car past 6 p.m. on Sunday. Or some weird crap.
We can have a rent-to-own sword store. So where they don't
Rent-to-own.
technically own it, there's still a lien on their sword.
Is that yeah? It's like a Harry
Yeah.
Carey kind of thing?
Yeah, because as long as
To lean on the sword?
But
as long as the law doesn't say you can't have it in your possession, then that would actually be an interesting workaround.
In your possession, so we would have to make like a follow-behind
Robot.
sword wagon.
It's a Roomba that carries a sword.
Exactly. It's your Roomba scabbard. It just follows you
The
around.
is it Ronin? Ronin Roomba.
Ronin. Oh.
the Ronin
You ever watch
Roomba.
that show?
Which
I
show?
thought about the show. The Ronin Warriors. Did you ever watch
Yeah,
that
I just downloaded it. That was some
Man,
crazy
that
stuff.
show's awesome. Those toys. Speaking, there you go. I'm bringing it back to eBay. I use eBay to buy toys,
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was buying a bunch of Centurion stuff, and I had a weird thought about the Ronin Warriors, and I had one of the smaller toys back when. Really, the last thing I ever bought from Toys R Us, and it was grossly overpriced. But I looked at them, and those toys are expensive secondhand on eBay.
Oh yeah. There were a lot of little parts of those things.
Yeah, there was little like snap-on armor pieces, but like, man, they have kept and increased in value surprisingly for it.
Here's a thought. I don't remember selling those.
I don't remember where mine went. I only had one.
I had a bunch of them. I don't know if I got rid of them. I probably got rid of them.
Wes, was there a reason for bringing up eBay?
Yeah, I go through these spurts where, I'll forget about it for a while, and then I'll get on a topic, and then I'll just be like, oh yeah, how about this? Oh yeah, how about that? And then I'll just go down like this black hole that usually ends up where I don't buy anything. But every once in a while, I'll be like, well, eBay credit has a nice 6 months no interest if you pay it back. I'm like, I need a Disney Darkwing Duck cell for my wall, of course. So that's how I acquired all my cell art over the last couple of years. It was through eBay sniping and whatnot. It's fun, and no one got hurt, and I quite like them. But sometimes I go back to purchasing video games through like classic games through eBay, because you can go through your local shops, but there's no savings anymore. Like the chances of you, unless you go to a random Goodwill in some random, county somewhere, people know what the value of all these old games are. All they have to do is just Google it and see what they're sold on eBay for. So I kind of cut out the middleman and all the hunting around. I'll just buy it as long as it's not exorbitant. Well, I've been buying a couple games that I had not found before, so I'll hold up for the people in the live stream. So this is a copy of a game. You guys might have seen this. This is Super Mario All-Stars, right?
I have that one.
And I've got a game here. It's called Evo. It's like a simulation game where you start out as like a little creature, and as you play, you evolve, and you go through like the stages of evolution with your character, and eventually you're like overpowered. You like eat other creatures that are smaller than you. You start out in the ocean, and eventually crawl out on the land, gain wings. I've never played it. I remember it, wanting it as a kid, can never find it. It's a game that's kind of expensive now to get, but I was on there late at night one night, and I happened to find a listing. I think it was for the seller was in Australia, and the game was like $15, and they're normally like $70. I'm like, well, that's kind of crazy, huh? And I like looked up his profile. He has a lot of positive sales. Well, you can't tell from holding it up, but this one's counterfeit. This is a fake game. When I bought it, when I got it in the mail, I could tell it didn't feel right. It's like lighter than it's supposed to be, and you can't tell in the pictures on the listing, but you can tell if you look closely. Those are plastic screws, not metal screws. But I couldn't tell in the picture on the listing. There's slight imperfections in the print quality. You can't tell. The Nintendo logo is squished on one side. Come on, camera. Anyways, just trust me on that. So normally it's like Nintendo Oval, and one side of it's like squished. So whoever created the label had like an error in their Photoshop skills, right? There's like slight things that are just a little bit off. I put it in the game. I put the game in my system. Doesn't work. It's not even like a duplicate like ROM or something. So yeah, actually, it was only $15, so I didn't feel like I really lost a lot. I've got a shell for a game that I could use for some other project now, because it looks legit enough to make something out of. So I'm not really upset about it. It's just interesting that that's out there, like counterfeit. That had never occurred to me. Or I never ran into it, I should say. Because I know people make like repro games, where they take like a ROM file and hack it and do different things to it, add different levels, and then they've got services where they can print a cartridge and have that like weird version of Mrs. Pac-Man that has legs or whatever, and you can play it in a Super Nintendo. I wish this game actually worked in my system. It doesn't do anything, which is sort of disappointing. I don't want to open it and just to see what the chip looks like, if there's even circuit board in there. It could just be the little piece on the end, and that's it. But
is it an NTSB issue because it came from Australia?
It said that in the listing. It said North American copy, because I looked at that.
Because I remember I had to hack a PlayStation to get a bunch of pirated games from
Yeah.
the Middle East. But
And the funny thing is, when when it shipped, it got here really fast. And I looked at the package, and it came from friggin' China, which makes sense considering it's counterfeit. But the listing was in Australia. It's like, this is all. I'm glad I didn't spend a lot of money on there. I would be pissed. I did submit like a claim. I haven't heard anything back for it. Whatever. But since then I've been looking at other things, and I recently picked up. I haven't gotten it yet. As of a couple of nights ago, I ordered Rob the Robot for the NES
Oh,
one.
wow. Nice.
Yeah. So we'll see how disappointed I'll be in that, because I'm sure it's pretty terrible. But I wanted one. So
what was
came
its
out
listed
first?
condition?
what's the condition? Well, that guy. There's a lot of pieces to him. So there's 2 games that came out. Each game has its own like accessory set that was shipped with him in the game. Gyromite and Stack Up. And if you were to piecemeal and like scavenge around the robot and all the different pieces, like he has different hands for different games. There's like these like tops that or whatever. If you try to like mix and match, you end up spending a lot. So I just bit the bullet and bought a set that already had everything. It was $300. Catherine doesn't know about that. She's probably listening to it right now. But it's 6 months, no interest. That's fine. Okay, that's no problem. But it came. It's in the styrofoam. It's got the NES, the Zapper.
Oh, nice.
It doesn't have the box, which is sort of crappy. But apparently they sell those for like $100, which I may or may not do. I don't know if it's worth that for a cardboard box, but it might be, considering it'll like seal the deal and it'll be on the shelf and I could play with it and stuff. So I'm okay with that. I think I'll let you know when I get it. It could be counterfeit. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a semi-reputable seller. We'll see if I get burned twice. That will hurt a lot more. But
And then Catherine takes away your eBay privileges.
yeah. That username has been active since 1999.
China's been around
been a
for longer than that.
It's true. So next week I'll either be really disappointed and sad, or I'll be happy.
We'll do a follow-up.
Yeah. And since it doesn't have the box, I was thinking of doing like a cool case or something that like you open it up, sort of like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, like kind of thing, or it's like glowing. Oh, Rob Robot! Oh my gosh, that'd be kind of funny.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Who came first, Johnny Five or Rob the Robot?
I think Rob did.
The Robot. 1985, I think.
It was interesting the way that came about. I did some reading about it, and they said that Nintendo put that in there to kind of break away from the outlook on video games at the time was negative, because Atari had just had the video game crash of the early 80s, so no one wanted to buy video game systems, and so they marketed it with a toy robot in there to make it look more like a toy than a game console. Like, here's a toy that does toy things. And then after people were convinced that Nintendo was the thing to get, and there was no like shady business, because they were like the new guy on the block at the time, right, in the U.S. So they kind of got their foot in the door with Rob, and then they stopped selling him and all the games, which is why those things are kind of expensive now. But it's kind of interesting. History. Yeah, maybe I'll bring it out too. I need to think about all the stuff I want to bring out there, play with out there in Kentucky when I visit you. I want to bring some robots out there. I want to bring some model rockets. Virtual reality stuff.
The new Mattel Blue Robo Raptor they came out with.
No, I'm not sure.
It's a little pet raptor, and it's billed as Mattel's most advanced toy they've ever made. And it will learn as you train it. And it also has a timer in the computer system where if you put it in a closet and don't play with it for a year, it will forget everything you taught it.
What?
And go feral.
What?
Actually, I think it's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
This is like the ultimate evolution of the Tamagotchi.
Yeah. And you can set it to like patrol mode, so it'll like run around your house.
I want it to actually bite something.
Is it bipedal or is it roll around or was it like how does it?
It's I think it's bipedal, but like wheels,
Hmm.
kind of. So like the legs run, but there's
It
wheels.
kinda
to keep
He
it
roller
upright.
skates.
Yeah.
Does a Bruce Jenner kind of thing.
You can feed it fake treats, so it's got like the little clicker, and then if you
joking
click,
there, Wes.
if you if you click it a certain amount of times and throw it up in the air, the robot will wait a second and then catch it. And
No
eat
way.
It. Yeah. The
Huh.
video is pretty cool. Like it's one of those toys where I'm just like, I always wanted a little robot, and I want to mess with my one dog so bad because she's hilarious with this stuff.
Hmm.
And then Thea, like, she was scared of BB-8 because BB-8 would run around and she'd jump up on the couch, but then she wants to play with it. So, God, what would happen with a little monster running around?
Only good things.
Here's a interesting little tiny topic to kind of get us over that mark. I found out recently that my school is going to be offering drone. Wait, how do they phrase it? Drone pilot lessons, so that when you finish the training, you can get your FAA drone pilot license.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
I just can't picture high school students, doing that responsibly.
Well, that's
Actually,
that's
not
what the
entirely
training is
true.
for.
Yeah, it's not entirely an accurate statement, but it just seems weird that we're offering all this at the high school level right now.
You get your driver's license through school. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually,
at
we don't
least,
offer it through our schools anymore.
Yeah, North Carolina doesn't either. You have to go through a third party.
Yeah, we have to go through the DMV here.
It's going to be a whole generation of drone cameramen.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, you teach people the laws and you incentivize it by
Yeah.
giving them the license to allow them to be commercial drone operators instead of just hobbyists.
We're starting to kind of turn a corner in my district where we're starting to give a little bit more attention to some of those trade skills, and I guess this would be kind of like a 21st century trade skill, knowing how to fly a drone. Because with the FAA pilot license for the drone, you could then be contracted out by different cities for drones, and you can bid on contracts for public events and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah, by anybody.
Yeah, and that's not a bad
Yeah.
not a bad gig.
Real estate, sure.
At 18.
Yeah, because I mean, a pilot's license, the difference between a private, like airline license and a commercial license is that if you can get a private license, but you can't charge people.
Right.
You can fly people around all day, but you cannot accept money as a pilot. So it's the same for a drone. Like you don't need a private drone license right now. But if you accept money from someone to do so, then you are a commercial drone operator, just like you'd be a commercial pilot's license is something separate.
What does that
So
run?
by having that,
A couple hundred?
Couple hundred.
the pilot's license or the
Yeah.
drone license?
No,
Drone.
the drone license.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's
a
like
test.
$300.
It's a license, so it's. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the FAA. They're going to charge you regardless.
Well, the classes that usually get that license here is like around $1,200.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's the testing. Because I remember when I got my mechanics license, that there was 3 separate tests, and each one of those tests was $200, and then the oral examination was $600. So the whole thing cost me $1,200 to do. So it's the FAA, and to lend credence and to kind of weed people out, they're going to put it at a price point that kind of
Right.
scares off people that they want a barrier to entry to ensure that the people that are going to do it are quality, and because they want your money.
Mm.
You enter into a club. I think it's a cool idea. I mean, it seems weird at face value that you're offering something that's. I mean, you can go to Walmart right now and pick up a drone. Anybody could do that, and it seems like a novel, weird, little kid thing to do, but it really isn't. I mean, you're ensuring people are doing it correctly, and you're doing it legally.
It's going to be the future cars anyway.
We just got a grant from some organization to buy a bunch of these drones too, And I don't know when the program is going to start, but it'll start probably at the end of this year or next year. And then I heard another rumor, although it's only a rumor right now. The FAA pilot license is kind of a done deal. A rumor that we might eventually get drone racing too, as a competition. So what's happening at a lot of the schools is we're starting to see the very beginnings of kind of like that crack in the structure of athletics.
Yeah.
Especially with football first, and I think it's going to be kind of a little bit of a kind of a cascading thing where all sports are going to be affected that way.
Gonna have
And we're
esports.
going to see, yeah, in esports. In fact, I had a former student who came as a guest speaker yesterday, who presented to all of my classes, and she's going to it's called Newmont School of Technology in Utah, and she's there for like data analytics and computer analytics, but she's working on the back end of esports leagues and gathering all that data and working that way. And there's a lot of colleges now, even like Division I colleges, that are putting together professional esports teams. Within 5 years, I know it's going to be starting at the high schools, which is a really weird thing in some ways, because that mix with academics. I don't know. There's a lot to solve, but it's going to eventually happen. We're going to see a huge fundamental shift in, competition and what we're competing for. So it may not be football anymore. It might be a lot of other things.
So you're gonna have like an
Robotics,
esports coach who also teaches social studies.
He's the math coach.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
When are we gonna see real steel?
See,
Well,
but those college teams are probably like intramural. Because I remember when I was at UCF, you could create we had a hockey team, but it wasn't like a real division, whatever. Like
Okay,
hockey team.
but the difference is like typically intramural sports are kind of on your own. The college signs off on it and says okay.
Yeah, and they
but
subsidize it.
Do they actually subsidize the intramural?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a club, but if you had an intramural sport, they treated it like a club, but you could get a subsidy.
Well, with these esports teams, they're being treated as official sports teams, not just an intramural. They're elevating it a little bit more.
All right, so again, we're calling it on the show. The NFL is done. It's gone away.
Come on, it can't be done yet. The XFL is on its way back.
I wrote an article a couple years ago about how athletics shouldn't be mixed with high school anyways. I got pretty chastised for that, but I knew it was going to happen.
You wrote an article, or you read the article?
No, I wrote it.
Well, I think with all the data that people have right now about concussions and brain injuries and
And kneeling.
I mean, that aside, that
I know.
side is-
That's social as opposed to, biology.
But the cost benefit ratio, because people are like, well, it teaches kids like teamwork and leadership and all that. And
Yeah.
like, okay, so you're telling me there is no other venue for
Boy
your
Scouts.
kid to learn those skills
I know.
where
It's annoying.
they could not concussion or not get heat stroke or not get all the things that come along with that. And I get it. People just like it. They like it. That's great. This is America. You can do what you want. But I think with as enlightened as these new generations are and how they like to stand out from different things and maybe the rise of esports and stuff, like I could see that could be looked upon as an older, like archaic way of having sporting events.
Yeah, there's some more fundamental reasoning behind it too. There's a documentary that's I don't know if it's already out on HBO or if it's coming out. And it's not the only one that's done this, but shining a bigger light on the fact that college athletes, especially like college football players, star players are making millions of dollars for the school. The coach makes $1 million a year to coach.
Oh yeah.
And the football players are basically starving. Their tuition might be paid, their classes are paid for, but they have no money to actually live.
I mean, look at EA. EA Sports is making NCAA football 2018 with these kids' names and likenesses, and they're making millions of dollars
and
off of
kids do
selling
not
that
get
stuff.
a
You don't get
penny
anything.
because
But
of the way
Greg
the
Klassen can
NCAA
trademark River Table, but you can't trademark your own name and your own likeness in a video game. It's
you
messed
don't
up.
even own your own face.
I know when college kids go to a bowl game, they're allowed so many supplemental prizes by the sponsors, but they're only allowed certain amounts. So you can go around the room and like get items in a goodie bag. So they're like iPads and like, kind of cool stuff, but you can only get so many because then it's over a certain limit for a gift to a player, and they're not allowed to have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bad, it's technically illegal or against the rules. I don't know how you want to phrase it, for the coaches to even buy the players' food.
I remember there was something like the alumni association at UCF, like a couple of guys that were football alumnists. I don't know the word.
Alumni.
Yeah, alumni.
Sure.
Is alumni already pluralized? Anyway,
Alumni.
alumnius. They owned car dealerships, and they would like lease out the cars to people on the football team. So they weren't like a gift; they would like rent the car, or they would allow them to use the car and stuff like that. So there's weird little workarounds. But yeah, getting an NFL contract worth millions because your likeness or your jersey or you're buying ticket sales and that kind of stuff. But like college football, the largest stadium in the United States is a college football stadium to go see players that are not paid for their work.
Welcome to America.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, so we foresaw copyright deals.
Yep.
3D printed
printed
issues.
guns.
Facebook demise, 3D printed guns, the rise of all other sports other than football in the States. So yeah, you're welcome. We solved all the world's problems.
And the giant
rugby.
and the giant flea
Rugby.
market known as eBay.
Yeah.
However that plays in.
I think rugby could come and make a big staple here in the States. Soccer's on the rise. They can kneel or stand or whatever all they want. NFL, no one's watching you anymore. You're done.
So what are you guys geeking out about this week?
The Bumblebee trailer.
Yeah. Bumblebee beats Dark Phoenix.
Oh, easily. No question.
The retro look
I
of the
can't
Transformers was awesome.
Cannot believe
That's what we wanted all along.
they did that.
Well, Bob had a theory. We talked about this on No Instructions the other day. Bob had a theory with it. It's kind of sad, but it's probably going to end up being true because there's shots of them on Cybertron. He's like, they're probably going to do like a callback shot where the girl character is like, "Where did you come from?" and has some little hologram thing of Optimus, and then these were our
There'll be
woes
cameos?
on Cybertron. Yeah, so it'll just be like a
I think Optimus will be a cameo. But
yeah, but I think
because Bay's
G
done
ones-
with it though.
Yeah, it's the guy that directed Kuba and the Two Strings that's directing this, which was a super
So,
cool.
and this is supposed to be a series reboot, right? Like they're kind of just starting over.
I think it fits in. I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't know either.
It could. I mean, maybe it fits in the way Star Trek fit in.
Use some loophole to have it still fit, but not have the
Yeah.
constraints. Yeah, maybe.
I can't believe everything was just so cartoon accurate. Like, and I've made the argument before, like you can't always
Right,
convert
2D to
the
3D.
cartoon or the comic book into live action. It doesn't always work. Like the X-Men outfits do not work in live action, but the Transformers work so perfectly.
It's like the Transformers we wish the original new movies would look like.
I don't think it's that big of a stretch in some ways because the Transformers were actually physical toys.
Yeah.
So we already had like a physical representation of them. So putting that as CG in a movie, I don't think is too far of a stretch.
Leader Convoy. What the hell's his Diaclone name?
No idea.
I forget. You want to see some cool stuff on YouTube? Go look up I don't know if they're commercials or what, but go look up the Diaclone stuff. Those are some epic toy commercials.
And if you don't know what Mark is talking about, go and watch the Transformers episode on Toys That Made Us.
Toys That Made Us, yes.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Season 3 coming soon.
Yep.
Really? They announced what they are?
They did, but I don't remember any of the show. I don't remember any of them.
Ninja Turtles,
Hmm.
Power Rangers. I think Power Rangers.
I think that sounds right. Care Bears?
They did have. I think it was Care Bears. It's usually 3 boy toys and a girl toy, which I find is I
Care
think it's a little messed up.
Garbage Pail Kids?
Garbage Pail, yeah, I think it was Garbage Pail Kids.
Really?
That one should be interesting.
I want to hear the creators talk about that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear the creators talk about the movie.
We just
Yes.
wanted to draw boogers and put them on cards. I am geeking out about a series on Amazon Video called The Marvelous Miss Maisel. The show just swept at the Emmys, but it is a kind of a timepiece in the late 1950s of a female stand-up comedian or a a housewife got divorced and kind of wandered into like a comedy club and started telling jokes, and now it's kind of like the rise of her as a comic.
That first stand-up special.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
I downloaded it for Tracy and ended up liking it.
I love the show, and one of the most iconic comics ever makes an appearance.
Yes.
Lenny
Yeah.
Bruce. I'm hoping that George Carlin wanders in there somewhere in the storyline. I don't think he will, but it would be great. It would be the right time period for it.
Nice. Yeah.
So is it a fictional person, or
It's
is it?
fictional.
So they're doing like a Forrest Gump kind of thing, where they're weaving it like
into-
fiction into nonfiction.
Yeah, they are, because
Yeah.
she references a lot of real comics during that time. It's a
and
great
real
show.
locations and all that.
I ended up laughing so hard at that show, and it's shot really well. The story is great. The characters are compelling. I highly recommend it. But yeah, I'm geeking out about that.
And I'm gonna add one to that. Has anyone watched Downton Abbey?
I fall asleep.
I actually
It was all the rage for a while.
Again, well, it's done. They stopped it. But I actually enjoy it. It's a very low key drama. Like there's bits and pieces of it where I'm like, all right, this is gonna happen or that's gonna happen, and they're just like, no, that's quietly solved. Moving on.
I don't have patience for those shows right anymore.
Did you guys see the Barnaby Dixon thing on Tested? The puppeteer?
I saw like 2 minutes of it.
yes.
You need to
That
watch
was
the whole thing. It's amazing.
Okay.
I actually
That's
stumbled
creepy.
I stumbled onto him like a couple days before that popped up. It was like a great big story, that YouTube channel, where they do like little mini documentaries. They're like 2 minutes long. They did one on him. I had never seen him, and then like 2 days later, he shows up on Tested. Adam Sandler's. I'm like, you really? Okay.
Because
So-
Adam found him, and,
right.
and then they're like,
But
all right, we gotta do a video.
If you've never seen this stuff, it's really cool. It's like hand-based puppetry, all custom created, and his YouTube channel is friggin' hysterical. It's really funny.
Make sure we link to him.
He does a good job, like, and the guy sings really well because his main character is like a bird, so the bird has to sing, which kind of so in most of the little episodes he does like a little song, and they're pretty funny. He did one about a kitten that his family got a new kitten. I would recommend that to be your first one because it's a good watch. Yeah, check him out on YouTube. That's all I got.
You see, I watched Scott Pilgrim vs. World. Is that what it's called the other day?
Yep.
Yeah,
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
hate Scott though.
No, that movie was so well done. Like it.
I feel like I'm too
action
old to
movie.
enjoy it. I can never get into it.
No, you're not. It's really good.
I'll give it another
It's
shot.
like video game / kung fu kind of movie. That's really funny.
I think I was too
I like
grumpy when I
Scott's
tried to watch
roommate
it.
better.
It almost makes Michael Cera bearable.
But Michael Cera plays the character that Michael Cera is good at playing.
Yeah, he's one of those actors, like, you don't hire him because he can be other people. You hire him because he's the person you wrote.
Tracy Morgan, yeah. Owen Wilson.
Yeah, Tracy Morgan, Nicolas Cage, him, Ryan Reynolds.
That's hilarious.
Owen Wilson. Man, that guy needs to do some more stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and
For
what
all
else?
everyone listening, if you want to waste a lot of time on YouTube, just look up Owen Wilson
Wow.
and the
Yep.
way people have woven his wows into sound effects for movies. So there was one where there was a scene, like they took the lightsaber scene from episode 1, and every single lightsaber sound was a different wow, 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 wow. And it's like 10 minutes of I don't know what I'm watching, but it's hilarious. And they've done it a couple times. There's another one where like
That's
every
dedication
gunshot
right there.
or something.
Yeah, that's good.
Actually, I'm geeking out a little bit. I don't know how much I endorse it yet, but I do like the animation style of the Transformers Cyberverse cartoon. It's on YouTube. They're little like 10-minute bits, and it's neat. It's kind of like cell shaded CG almost, and it's not the same style as Prime was, and it's not the Japanimation style, but it's kind of neat. I like the character designs on it. They're pretty cool.
It seemed a little bit easier on the eyes to watch.
Yes.
It wasn't overly busy. Things were pretty clean to see, and it wasn't it wasn't kind of like an overbearing cell animation or like the 3D cells. All right. Well, we would love to hear from all of you. Please visit our website, makinggeeks.com. And if you check out the contact page right there, you can drop any questions, suggestions for the show, anything that you like. And you can not watch, but you can listen to all of our past episodes on the homepage of the site. And while you're there, take a look at our back catalog. All the guests we've had on the show, we've had quite a few awesome guests right there on makinggeeks.com.
And you can find us across all the social medias on Instagram at Making Geeks Podcast and on Facebook and Twitter at Making Geeks.
I would like to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for keeping us motivated with their financial contributions. I think we need to do some more exclusive stuff for those guys for helping us out as long as they have. I've got some ideas I want to throw around to you guys. But thanks to our top patron, Mr. Seth Williams, for being the top patron. And all of our patrons, we appreciate it. So head on over to patreon.com/makinggeeks if you want to join the elite squad.
if you want to get a hold of us individually or check out our bodies of work, you can search the internet for Geeksmithing, where you can find everything that Wes has done. You can find Sean's work at Geek Builders. You can find Mark's work at Asylum Designs. And I'm at the PI Workshop. And I'd like to thank everybody for hanging out with us. Hopefully this episode has validated the reason that you listen to us, because we are just sages and have our pulse on the many topics that plague this country and this world. And so jump on everything that we said, our recommendations for the future. And
Buy stock.
yeah, so from all of the oracles here at the Making Geeks podcast, we all hope you have a fantastic week.
See you guys.
Later.
Take care, folks.
I feel like us giving stock information would be the scene from Gremlins 2.
Hey, somebody's in my house crying, so I gotta go
All right,
figure out what's going on. So y'all have
See
a
you
good
guys.
night.
Take care.
Later, Josh.
Thank you guys for being in the live stream.
Later, people.
I think that is one of our better episodes of the last 10 episodes.